Hello everyone, and welcome to today's community forum for the charity sector hosted by Sovereign and the Good Exchange. Thanks for coming. It's really great to be able to have you here today for the event, and hopefully you'll go away today with more understanding and a really good overview which will help you and your organisations in the future. To introduce myself, I'm Diane Humphreys, one of the Community Development Officers and part of the Communities team here at Sovereign, and I cover Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole. We have some great speakers today from Sovereign's Communities team. To start off, we have Rachel Bullock, one of our Community Development Officers, who will give us Sovereign's funding overview. Andrew Cooper, Head of our Business Development and Fundraising, who will discuss Sovereign's approach to fundraising. And Debs Williams, our Social Impact Manager, who focuses on measuring what we do and how we can capture social value. Toby Eaglin will also be talking a bit later about Sovereign's approach to asset-based community development, and will give an overview of the support and work the community development officers do within their roles at Sovereign. At Exchange, we have Marina Stedman, Head of Marketing, and Julian May, Head of Collaborative Funding and Greenham Trust and the Good Exchange, and Misha Wallace, Client Support Manager, who will be discussing match funding, giving you some top tips on writing appealing grant applications, how to use the Good Exchange for fundraising activities, resources available, and much more. We also have some great guest speakers, and we'll be looking at some examples of previously funded projects with a wide variety of subjects that you will hopefully find useful and informative. We have joining us today Fenella Woods from East Ilsley Parish Council, Charlotte Stroud, Development Officer from the Watermill Theatre, and Helen Milroy, Director of Operations of Newbury Cancer Care. The webinar today will last about 90 minutes and your microphones will be on mute. There will be an opportunity to ask anything you're not sure about or would like to know more about later, and we will spend some time answering those at the end of the sessions today. So please do type any questions in the box at the bottom of the pop-up window and we will answer as many of those as we can. If we don't get time to answer them, we'll make sure we get the answers out to you after today's forum. As part of our Thriving Community Strategy, which was launched early this year, we want to contribute to developing thriving and resilient communities collaboratively. We want our communities to thrive, be in places brimming with opportunities, realise strength and supportive networks. We know that an individual's well-being and quality of life is fundamental to the whole community, so we will continue to provide proactive services and have expanded these so that we can make the most impact with residents and our wider communities. We want to build partnerships, support networking, and can offer a wide range of bespoke support to charities, groups, and residents. We use a blended approach, and there are many ways how we can support and contribute to communities to enable them to thrive. As part of that, we work with the Good Exchange for our grants programme, and internally we award projects via a panel who represent various parts of the business, including residents. As mentioned earlier, these are the speakers today from the Sovereign Communities team. We hope you enjoy the session today, and please feel free to get in touch with us. We'll be sharing a bit later how you can contact us, the Communities team here at Sovereign, before we close today's session. Today's session will also be recorded and a link will be sent out to you all. So if you want to rewatch or share, please feel free. So first, I'm going to hand you over to Rachel Bullock. Rachel is going to give a Sovereign funding overview and also talk about the Sovereign's Communities Fund.
Good morning, everybody. Today. This first slide really goes to illustrate how much of an uplift we get from using the Good Exchange, and you can see down there in the corner, for every £1 that we spend equates to £2.50 back into our communities. So far, Sovereign have granted £222,000 awarded funding from other partners. There's been 591,000 public donations, 186,000, and that equates to a really good sum of £778,000 overall, which we have been able to support. So far, projects backed have been 105, funding partners have been 136, and the average has been around 4,348, and the average donations are 495. Next slide, please. Here's a map of our footprint across the south of England, and you can see we have a wide spread going all the way down to the southwest, down to Plymouth, and then up again to Gloucestershire and over to Reading. So as you can see, this is a wide area and a wide spread, and we have properties dotted around those areas. We have a high number in Basingstoke and Newbury, but also there's a lot in Bristol as well. So, you know, we do ask that people have their projects within the 3-mile radius of our properties, but if you're not sure, please do get in touch with us or the Good Exchange and we can help you sort that out. Thank you. So a little bit of information of how our funding part operates. So Sovereign has 120,000 of community funding for 2020 to 2021. That is divided into 40,000 pots and 3 grant rounds. The first round is now open for applications, and that, unfortunately, looking at the dates, that first one has now closed. But every year we have these 3 rounds, and the next closing date is the 30th of November 2020. So you have lots of time to apply, and the third round will close on February the 28th, 2021. Each round has a different theme, and you can see that grants are typically awarded between a few £100s, but we will go up to £10,000, so it's very flexible. So round 1, which closed in August, our themes were young people and financial and digital inclusion. For the next round, which closes on November the 30th, our themes are homelessness prevention and re-entering the job market. Following on from that, the next round that closes on February the 28th, 2021, the themes are ageing well and place and community. For more information, you have the websites down there, and to learn more about the Good Exchange. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. That's great. I'm now going to head over to Andrew Cooper, and he's going to talk a little bit about Sovereign's approach to fundraising. Hi, Andrew.
Hi there. Good morning, everybody. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we approach fundraising, what that means, and what that might mean for your project. So my role at Sovereign is I'm head of business development and fundraising. So I look at just some of the kind of our fundraising and new opportunities we're looking at. So why do an organisation like Sovereign look at fundraising? Why is it important for us? So we need external funding to deliver our community strategy, which is all of our community investment work. And we aim to achieve £5 million in external funding per year by 2024. And what we mean by external funding is any funding that's coming from any other sources outside Sovereign. So that might be grants, contracts, or additional kind of pieces of work. We also are looking at funding because we think that increases the scale and impact of our work, enables us as an organisation to increase our influence, to have a bigger impact, to support our partners and organisations we work with, and really importantly, support the frontline work that all those organisations do, which will have a bigger impact on our communities and our residents. In terms of the kind of fundraising that we would apply for, we're really kind of keen on the partnership approach, and we're only applying for funding if it meets the aims of our strategy, if we think there is that clear benefit to our residents, and it links to our kind of corporate plan. So we've kind of got quite a focused approach, although we're kind of aiming to kind of bring in lots of external funding as well. And also we will use our own funding to bring in other funding and achieve more. And this might be through organisations such as yourselves and the Good Exchange and other partners. So how can we enable the funding that we've already got to achieve even more and have that bigger impact? And partners such as Good Exchange are really important for us in helping us to do this. So just from today, we really want you to kind of talk to us about funding, both kind of your projects you're looking at now and also sustainability and future opportunities. Just do talk to us about any kind of partnerships and fundraising opportunities that might do. And we're really open to that discussion about how we can work together. And there'll be a question and answer session afterwards. So do send any questions about funding if you've got them. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andrew. That's really helpful. Now we're going to go to Debs Williams, and she's going to talk about social impact and social value. Hi, Debs.
As Diane mentioned, I am the Social Impact Manager at Sovereign. I've been in post for a few months, and we're really trying to focus the work that we do in communities and across the rest of the business, to be honest, in terms of being able to measure its impact and understand really how that drives forward the rest of the business, and really reflect on making sure that we're working in the right areas at the right time. So we use the HACT Wellbeing Valuation tool for measuring our impact. So at the moment, that is looking at a range of different activities that relate quite closely to housing. But if you take a look at the full list of measures, I'm certain that you'll find measures that really link to the work that you do too. And each of those activities have a financial value. And now that value is brought about by looking at lots and lots of different data sets and understand it. Sorry about the dog in the background. Understanding how ONS data and the wellbeing questionnaires from the Office for National Statistics link to a particular financial value. So we use HACT because it is an industry standard. Lots of the housing associations are using it, and although we wouldn't necessarily use that to benchmark ourselves against anyone else, because it's not quite built for that at the moment, it does help us to understand really where we are working and how we are working and how that fits within the bigger picture. So as I mentioned, there are lots and lots of different values. It might be helpful for you to see some of those. So for example, moving from no exercise at all to frequent moderate exercise has a wellbeing value of just over £4,000 per person per year. As I said, this isn't a financial proxy that means that any money goes anywhere. It's a representation of that level of well-being for a person. Again, volunteering just over 3,000, and going from not perhaps feeling belonging to your neighbourhood to feeling like you belong in your neighbourhood has a value of around 3,700. If we look at maybe why it's important for us to understand that impact and that value, financial proxies are really useful because they come from a common language that businesses and lots of people understand. So it's a monetary kind of representation of change. And what we tend to find is that although we know the great work that is happening in our communities with our own teams and with our partners, sometimes we don't always get the so what and the clear picture of, well, what's changed and what is the real impact. So we might, for example, here I've said about a project, an employment project where we're trying to support people into work. We could say we generated 10 full-time jobs, or we could measure the financial proxy for that well-being valuation and say, well, that actually equates to a huge amount of well-being generated, and having that so what behind the funders, because it helps choose where they'll invest to be able to maximise their strength and reach. So yeah, feel free, pop any questions in the Q&A box, and hopefully I'll speak to you in a moment. Thanks.
Thanks, Deb. That's great. It's yeah, I think a lot of groups find being able to measure social impact and put a value on it really important. Now I'm going to head over to Marina Stedman, and she's going to talk a little bit and tell us what match funding is. Hi, Marina.
Hi, morning everyone. So the reason we put match funding into this presentation, it may be something that some of you are familiar with, but it's something that we are discussing with Sovereign. They haven't done match funding yet. But one of the things that the organisation, the charity that owns the Good Exchange does, Greenham Trust, is they offer a lot of match funding grants. And we had a quick look at the statistics for one of their match funding grants called Trust Top Up. And we found that 77% of the charities that got given trust top-up of £5,000 raised less than half of the match funding against that in a 12-month period, and only 10% of those organisations matched the total 5,000. So what that means is that funders are giving out match funding grants to charities and they're not actually getting the money. Because how match funding works is that a funder offers a defined grant to a project over a defined period, but that charity gets the money when they match that money pound for pound. So you either match it from donations or from other fundraising activities that you do, or in some cases at funder discretion, they will match with grants from other funders or from, say, businesses. So the whole thing about match funding is it's use it or lose it. So if the charity grant giving organisation gives you match funding, you have to match that money to get it. So a little diagram here of how it works. So if Sovereign offered a £5,000 match funding grant to a project to be matched £1 for £1, every £1 that was donated would then become £2. So, for example, if your fundraising organisation raised £5,000 from donations, fundraising and other grants, you would actually get £10,000. So £5,000 from the funder, £5,000 from your own activity. And that's why fundraising, match funding is such an exciting prospect for charities.
Great, thanks, Marina. We're going to head over to Julian May from the Good Exchange now, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Double Match Day.
I think we've got a problem with Julian, he's frozen.
A double match funding initiative to try and help some fundraising organisations attract more public donations and fundraisers to support them. So back in July, back in the summer, they awarded up to £100,000 in double match funding for 24 hours only to 10 charity finalists. And the results surprised everybody. We managed to help those 10 finalists raise over £181,000 on the day, with Greenham Trust awarding £2 for every £1 donated. And it just shows that the amazing results that can be achieved if you secure match funding from a funder and use the Good Exchange to help fundraising organisations attract public donations to support your fundraising appeal. So all of this was achieved over a 24-hour period, from 1 minute past midnight on Friday the 24th of July to 1 minute to midnight the following night. 8 out of the 10 finalists reached their £5,000 donations target on the day, which meant that they got an additional £10,000 in match funding grants from Greenham Trust. And some raised considerably more, as you'll hear about shortly. So these were the finalists who took part, and they all had to have a live application on the Good Exchange, COVID-safe fundraising activities organised in the week preceding and on the day itself, and they had to have a social media presence for their organisation. But how were they so successful? Well, apart from the support that they received from Greenham Trust and the Good Exchange, so we provided toolkits and guides, and we provided each of the 10 finalists with a mentor to support them during the week and on the day itself. They helped themselves by creating social media campaigns, and they communicated those regularly throughout their partners and their support and networks. So here's just one creative fundraising example of how the finalists use Facebook to drum up donations. Can you change the slide, please, Marina? So Jane Tomlinson climbed her stairs 247 times to raise funds for the hydrotherapy pool at the Special Educational Needs Castle School, which was posted live on Facebook by her son. So as you can see, there are lots of fantastic examples of how the other 10 finalists use social media effectively to signpost donors to their fundraising appeals on the Good Exchange, and also through direct links from their websites. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's hear from the few of the finalists themselves who can share their experience of Double Match Day. So first of all, please can I introduce the Clerk of East Ilsley Parish Council, in other words.
Hi everybody, thank you very much for having me on here. So I'm the clerk to the Parish Council, and we had a playground that was in very sad need of being revamped, and we contacted the Good Exchange for help with raising funds for this project. So we were really lucky to be one of the 10 finalists for Double Matched Funding Day on the 24th of July. And because we already had trust top up as well, we had a chance to make the £15,000 on that one day. We started to get our thinking caps on, and we knew that we had to do something special on that day. It was really important that we had one thing that our whole community could engage with, that would be live, and we could put on all of our social media feeds to encourage people to donate. So me, for my sins, decided to run 24.7 kilometres on a treadmill to generate the maximum number of donations we needed. I chose that number because of the date, and it really helped kind of bring up the excitement and in the run up to the day. Social media, as Julian's mentioned, was really important for us. It was our biggest pull. Obviously, being able to donate online through the Good Exchange was a really big draw for us, and it was obviously trusted and well protected, so our villagers had confidence in it. We used Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube to rally awareness, share videos, live stream the run, and we took screenshots of the donations increasing to encourage people to carry on and help us reach our target. And it worked. That engagement with people on social media was absolutely incredible, and we did get over £15,000 for our new playground equipment. So we were absolutely thrilled. So this slide just gives you a little bit of an example of the things we did. So using Canva, which they might talk about later on, we generated all these sort of visual aids for people, which was free for us to use. We did regular countdown videos in the run-up to the big day, and posted those all over our socials to really get people excited. Started up an Instagram account, which was new for us, but we've managed to generate some excellent followings from that. So that all worked really well. It was hard work for me as the person managing it, but it was really worth it in the end. So, as I mentioned before, we did countdown videos. The most important one we did was our day 4, and that was because we really wanted to make sure that people understood that this was for the children. So we found Milo, who is a 6-year-old boy that lives in our village, who loves the playground, but really wanted a climbing frame, and it's one thing we didn't have. So Milo's mum really kindly filmed and gave us permission to use him in our video. So you can view it on our YouTube channel. Go and have a look. We've added music and Milo talking, and it's just a really great way of bringing in the empathy for that video and generating people's interest. So a few things that we had to learn in order to make this a success. We had to do something physical on the day to drive up the donations. So Challenge the Clerk was born. We had to create vibrant, clear, eye-catching social media messages, which were really important to gain attention. We didn't want to just post it. We know it needed to be something bright and visual, and Canva was amazing to help me do that. I can't not say how amazing the Good Exchange and the Greenham Trust were in the run-up, before, during and after. They were absolutely amazing. Julian was my mentor, and we had quite a few Zoom meetings just to chat about how this was going, give me ideas, and they just helped us raise our campaign. We had a hashtag that we all used, and we could all share and retweet and follow each other, and that it was incredible, the real big support we got. All the tools, resources and people you can find, just use them. The challenge wasn't the run itself, it was actually the week running up to the campaign and the intensity for me to keep promoting this. And really key for us was we realised we needed a hook. So our little story with Milo was something that people in the village could relate to, feel empathy for his plight of not having a climbing frame, and that really helped when we donations started coming in. I think I just have one more slide. So yeah, we couldn't have done that without the Good Exchange or the Greenham Trust. So I mean, huge thank you to you and for all your support. And so my advice to you thinking about doing this is just use everything they give you. Listen to everything they say, run your ideas past them, share everything you can on social media with them, tag them, put them in all your posts, and they will share and retweet. Take every opportunity they give you and embrace it. It was a truly phenomenal day, and we're so grateful, and so's the village, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Fenella. That was a brilliant run through of your experience at Double Match Day, and thank you so much for those kind words. So on to the Watermill Theatre, and Charlotte Stroud, the development officer from the Watermill, is going to share her experiences of Double Match Day. So over to you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Julian. Hello, everyone. Yes, so I'll just talk through some of the channels that we used in order to advertise Double Match Day. This was a brilliant opportunity for us. As you may know, the arts industry and theatres have been heavily impacted by COVID-19. On the 17th of March, we had just opened a new show. It was, I think, 2 performances in, and we had to close everything completely, and that then led to a period of closure, which meant that we couldn't generate any ticket income or restaurant income. So it was a really difficult challenge for us. So we had already launched our Act Now to Help Us Act Tomorrow appeal. And this seemed like the perfect project to take forward with this opportunity that the Good Exchange and Greenham Trust presented to us with the double match funding. It was a brilliant incentive for our supporters to be able to triple their impact. If they were able to donate £10, that would then become £30 for the theatre and for our appeal. So again, I just really like to thank Greenham Trust and the Good Exchange for this opportunity. So what did we do in order to advertise Double Match Day? We, in the week preceding to Double Match Day, started to send out information about it to our mailing list. We sent out an e-flyer which had notice of the date and the activities and what was happening. And we also started to use information internally on our email signatures to spread the word with our supporters, with our corporate contacts and other people that we were working with. So it was really brilliant. One sort of learning curve that we did have was that within 24 hours of us sending out that first email, we had already received over £700 worth of donations, which is absolutely amazing, but sadly not eligible for the double match funding because we still had a week to go until that date. So we just needed to, if we were going to do this again, try not to include perhaps some click-through links. We put those in for people to read about it, but it's just a way of making sure that we can hold fire on those donations and get the maximum impact for them. Next slide, please, Marina. So social media was also something that we used heavily in order to advertise the opportunity. So we had a daily countdown on Facebook and Instagram stories. And we also used Twitter to retweet Greenham Trust and to spread the word. It had a really good response. As you can see, our first Facebook countdown post had 48 shares amongst our followers. So people were really excited about this opportunity. With the Instagram stories, one thing that we sort of recognised is it's best to schedule these sorts of posts in advance at midnight, because otherwise you get an overlap. If you do it at 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning the next day, you'll have two running alongside each other. So that was just another little learning curve that we found. Next slide, please, Marina. Thank you. So other opportunities in the summer, we had taken the plunge and opened a riverside cafe at the theatre. We were using disposable menus for sort of additional safety. So that then presented an opportunity for us to attach some printed flyers to further advertise Double Match Day and that opportunity. And we also turned that into a digital version, and that was sent to specific contacts. So our sponsors, our corporate club members, colleagues, friends, volunteers, everybody who was already invested in the theatre and wanted to support us, for them to then spread the word with friends and family. And that really helped us to get the news out into the community. We were also lucky enough to be opening some outdoor performances in the Watermill Gardens in the summer. So having sent out information about that, we were able to attach our Double Match Day wording onto that information. So really utilising all opportunities to get the word out there. Then on the day itself, we sent out another email. We updated our own website to include an event page to direct people through to the Good Exchange, because obviously if somebody went onto our website to make a donation, that wouldn't be linked to the Double Match Day opportunity. So having a clear journey to be able to direct people to the Good Exchange was something that we felt was really important. Again, we use social posts across all our channels, and we were really blown away actually by the support that we received. We had prepared a few other bits of and pieces to go onto social media, but actually we received the £5,000 of funding from our supporters needed to access that maximum amount of £10,000 of double match funding by around 11 o'clock in the morning on that day. We were really blown away by the support that we received and how invested people were in helping us to achieve that target. And actually, overall, the event helped us to raise over £44,000 in one day. That's including double match funding and gift aid, but that was a phenomenal amount for us to be able to raise, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without that opportunity. With everyone working remotely, we couldn't host a big fundraising event. This was really brilliant for us to be able to engage with our community and our supporters. Next slide, please, Marina. So in order to say thank you, we utilised the resources that the Good Exchange presented for us. Obviously, the people donating were donating on the Good Exchange, so we didn't have all of their details in the way that we usually would if they were making a donation through our website. So there's a comment section, that's the green box on the right. We were able to update with various comments as we were going through the day, and to just add a thank you message as we were going along, and really engage with our supporters in that way. And when we had hit our target, we contacted Louise, who was our mentor at the Good Exchange, and she updated the top of our project page to be able to make it really clear and transparent for people that we had reached that target, and we were very grateful to receive more donations, but just to make it clear that that double match funding maximum amount had been reached. And next slide, please. So we also then used emails and social channels to say thank you. A few days later, we found that actually some more donations continued to trickle in. So it was a little bit tricky to confirm the overall total on the day. So we did that a few days later. And our project target, because we reached the overall project target, we did find that people were coming online in the evening to make donations, and unfortunately that had been closed because the Good Exchange doesn't let you exceed your target. So it's good to have a plan B of being able to either direct people to another project on the Good Exchange, another appeal, or onto your website. So just to be aware of that if you are thinking about setting up a fundraising campaign. And I'm pleased to say that thanks to the support of people on Double Match Day and our supporters over the last few months, we have recently reopened the watermill for a socially distanced season that opened last week. Unfortunately, we are running at a much smaller capacity. We're only able to sell 37% of our seats, and we usually aim for 89% to break even. But to be in this position now and to be able to reopen is a real blessing. And we're really grateful and appreciative for this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, for that really, really insightful and comprehensive review. It's worth just mentioning quickly that upgrades to our donor service via the Good Exchange will include the opportunity for donors to opt in and share their details. Fundraising organisations will be able to access the reports of opted in donors. So hopefully that will be able to help you all as you continue to fundraise through the platform. Thank you, Charlotte. And last but certainly not least, please can I introduce Helen Milroy, who's the Director of Operations at Newbury Cancer Care, to talk about their experience of Double Match Day. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you, Julian. Hello, everyone. My role as Director of Operations for Newbury Cancer Care is a bit of a jack of all trades. I'm front of house. I speak to donors, I speak to patients, I speak to relatives. Fundraising is not one of our fortes, and we're not big on going and rattling tins down the high street. We don't do a lot. We don't sing and dance about our fundraising, and we are very fortunate that having been going for 36 years, and they have used our services or they know of us and we've helped a relative. So we do tick over really with donations. So we've never had to do anything like this before. And this was, it's a whole new world to us, to be quite honest. We've only just, in the last, I think 5 years, gone on to internet banking rather than using checks for everything. So we're a little bit behind the times, but I think that, you know, we did amazingly on the day. We needed to raise, one of the things that we do is that we're the parent charity for the Rainbow Rooms, which are 4 hospice rooms at West Berkshire Community Hospital. So they're used for end-of-life care for patients, not just cancer patients, for any patients, but also symptom control for those who are in an end-of-life stage, but just needing a bit of help with the medication and to control the symptoms. We've been approached by the hospital, by one of the nurses, to say that one of the things they'd really like would be the purchase of a cuddle bed, which is a single hospital bed that will, at the push of a button, extend to a double bed, which to me sounds amazing. And I think that's what captured everybody's imagination, and it's a really emotive subject. You want to be with your relative, you want to be close to them. The Rainbow Rooms are a fantastic facility at the hospital. There's only 4 of them, but we wanted to, and we have given everything we can to support these rooms over the last 36 years. So we decided that we would start this project and apply to the Good Exchange for match funding and get the project going. With regards to the double matched funding day, we only had, I think, a week's notice. So we were late to the party, very late to the party. And we didn't do any flyers, we didn't do anything other than using social media, which I have to say was, looking at the stats, we don't get many followers on Facebook and Twitter, but we have got some followers. But on the day, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter were just fantastic. And I'll just give you some stats on that. I didn't do any slides, I'm so sorry. We haven't got that far in our technology yet. Facebook, it just, you look at the insights on it, we increased our Facebook views from the week before 569%, and a 1,450% increase compared to the week before of new page followers. 2,659% increase on the post engagements. Those stats just overwhelmed us completely, because we'd had probably 31 followers, 60 followers, but that was fantastic. On the day, what we'd done previously in the run-up is I'd done a couple of videos and put those on Facebook, talking about us still operating and throughout COVID. And then we heard that we'd been selected as a finalist for the Double Match Funding Day, and that was it. So I put a couple of videos out, and then we picked up on the social media and sent things out. And basically, I think we overwhelmed everybody with these posts, and we tagged the Good Exchange, we tagged Greenham Common Trust, we tagged everybody we could, possibly at every post, to try and get people to do it. On the day of double match funding, we needed to raise £29,500. I'm just looking, we had 179 donors. We raised £16,945.86. We got gift aid, match funding, and £440 offline, which I have to say that was a fantastic facility, being able to add money that was donated offline, because we have a lot of our supporters who don't have technology. And I think that's something I'd say, please remember all the people that don't have the option of donating on the day. And if you have enough notice, get your word out, not just by social media, but also by flyers and posts, and let the people that support you that don't have any technology, let them take part in it as well, because community projects are that, they're community, they include everybody. And it was a great thing. So the Greenham Common Trust, adding that to it, through the Good Exchange, and being able to add donations that we'd received. We had people ringing up and saying they wanted to donate, and I told them how to do it. They would send a check in, and the day that I received the money, I would then add it and on the double match funding day, once it had been banked. It's a fantastic opportunity. It raised the money that we needed. We couldn't have done this without the Good Exchange and Greenham Common Trust. And I think Canva, that was one of the things that they recommended. We would be prepared for our next project that we would run, and we would think about it differently. We would do a lot more. We would do posts, we would do slides, we would do flyers. But with the week's notice, we were a little bit caught short, I think, with that. But we did it. We reached our target. People were still donating. We ran out of match funding. That was the other thing. I think Charlotte mentioned that, but we ran out of funding on the day, and by 11 o'clock, I think the double match funding had gone, which was disappointing to a lot of people that had been holding on, and we told them not to donate until the Friday, without realising quite the support we were going to get. It just overwhelmed us, and I think it overwhelmed everybody else, and people were missing out and weren't very happy. We didn't have another project for them to donate to other than sending donations to Newbury Cancer Care for our general projects that we have going, the usual things that we run. But that's what we would do differently. We would be more aware, I think, of how quickly the donations were coming in, because what we didn't want to do was put people off. I've got a Zoom meeting next week to thank people for an organisation for their donation on the day. They wanted it double match fund, and it wasn't, and they weren't very happy. But hopefully I'll be able to talk to them and tell them we reached our target, even with their donation. That was so important to us. Sorry, I do feel quite emotional about this, because I know that these 2 beds are on order, and I'm just thinking about all the people that are waiting for these beds to go into place, and we couldn't have done it without the Good Exchange. So whatever you do, remember all of your supporters, use the facilities available, use your mentor, use Canva, just absolutely swamp social media, because the message gets through, people share it, and getting the word out and spreading it is just the most important thing, I think, because without that, we wouldn't have had the support we did. We've been really lucky over the years, but that day, we're still talking about it now, the 24th July, it was just unbelievable. And I think without the support that we had from the Good Exchange, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So it was a wonderful idea. All the charities involved were amazing. There were 10 of us, and congratulations really to the Good Exchange and the Greenham Trust. We've all benefited. We can now help people to have an end of life that is one that is just a little bit more dignified and a bit more close comfort, and it helps symptoms, it helps so many different things. Facilities that we have available are all improved by the help we've received from Greenham and the Good Exchange, and Thank you. Use what you can, use the facilities and use social media, but don't forget the people that don't have social media. And we'll try better on our next project. So thank you.
Thanks, Helen. That's lovely to hear. And Charlotte and Fenella as well, thank you. There's some really good examples, and it's lovely to hear all the different and creative ways that everybody's fundraising there. I'm going to head back to Julian May, who's going to give you some top tips for writing appealing grant applications. Hi, Julian.
Thank you, Di. What an inspirational talk there by Helen about her fundraising experience. And it just shows you what is possible, the art of the possible, when we're faced with challenges, that funders want to come together and try new things and new ways of working, whether it's working collaboratively, whether it's experimenting with match funding to help you to attract donations and grants, or whether it's double match day, as we've heard about. And it's certainly something that if you feel strongly about that you would like in your areas, we can talk to the funders that we work with to do it with you. So let us know if it's something you'd be interested in. So my role is local, regional and national funders to work alongside funders such as Sovereign and Greenham Trust and the many other funders that we work with across the south of England. It might be a daunting prospect to some of you to write a successful online fundraising application, but remember, the Good Exchange isn't just an opportunity to attract multiple funders using just one online application. As we've heard, it's also an opportunity to attract public donations and fundraisers through a fundraising appeal which you can share on social media. Now, we've all heard that COVID has had a big impact on our ability to fundraise. So lots of the funders and donors using the Good Exchange and that are awarding grants are asking the question at the moment: is your project or is your service absolutely essential at this time? But funders all understand how difficult it is, how difficult the environment is out there at the moment, and they've responded brilliantly. You know, they want to work with other funders now. They're being more innovative. They're raising money, COVID emergency funds, by putting fundraising appeals on the Good Exchange so they can double the impact of their money. The advice I'd give is to keep your applications on the Good Exchange evidence-based and demand-led, and do your research too. So if you want to have a look at who's using the Good Exchange, just click on the magnifying glass in the top right-hand corner of the Good Exchange homepage, and you'll see all the details of the registered funders and their live funding schemes, and also information about their terms and conditions and their eligibility criteria. So funding can be won or lost in how you present yourselves in your fundraising appeal description. So keep it clear and concise, as I said, evidence-based and demand-led. Be careful to explain how and why you're different to similar organisations in your space. And don't forget to share your success stories. Keep it simple and avoid jargon and any lengthy academic research. Keep it short to hold your audience's attention, and keep it memorable. So include anecdotal and informal case studies, and these can be anonymous too, especially if you're dealing with vulnerable clients. Remember to consider how funders and donors feel as well as how they think. We're all human and we all want to help the community, so tell your stories via your beneficiaries. That helps to keep it engaging and compelling rather than just describing about how your organisation works. And I would advise 4 tips here on how to do this. Who is it about so we care? Describe the problem that they faced. What action was taken by you to resolve, and what was the result of that action and the impact that it had on their lives? And this can be reinforced and backed up with photographs and videos. So funders and donors do care more, and we can more effectively share your story. So the demand for funder pounds and donor pounds is greater now than it's ever been. But as Deb said earlier, you can explain in more detail what impact exactly their funding will have on your organisation, and more importantly, in your community. So be careful to explain that impact, and also how you'll measure the impact, and include quantitative methods such as numbers and statistics, but also quantitative methods as well, such as capturing the essence of how your work benefits people in your communities. Make sure you very, very carefully explain your reserves. So any restricted or ring-fence reserves, why they're restricted, what they're for. Even if it's explained in your accounts, don't forget to explain it in your application on the Good Exchange, because it might influence some funders who see high reserves into not actually awarding grants if you don't see a clear explanation. Don't forget to explain your free reserves as well, and any impact that COVID-19's had on your reserves. So be clear and be realistic, and be honest about what can be achieved by the funding that's raised in your project, and be prepared to back up any claims that you make with evidence. So funders have to carry out due diligence about the governance of your organisation. So be prepared to answer questions from sovereign and other funders that use the Good Exchange in questions that they may ask, and keep your accounts and your governance information up to date as well. Remember, you can also have a look at similar organisations that have fundraising appeals on the Good Exchange to see how they've structured applications, but also how they communicate their message, and that can help you in writing a successful funding and fundraising bid. The Good Exchange is a gift aid agent, and that means that we can claim gift aid on donations made via the platform to your fundraising appeal, and you can take advantage of the 25% tax relief on it. And we provide that service for free, and my colleague Marina will say a little bit more about that in a moment. Finally, I'd just like to say, don't forget keywords. So prospective funders and donors can find your application in search engines such as Google by entering keywords. So it's important that you add relevant words that will help people find your application, and also your organisation's website. Keywords, and we can share more details about keywords and how they work later. And also, don't forget to share your fundraising page on the Good Exchange. So tell your support networks and your partner networks about your fundraising page on the Good Exchange. You share the URL, the public URL at the top of the page. Share that amongst your networks and signpost prospective donors and funders to your page on the Good Exchange. Happy to answer questions at the end, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Julian. That's great. I'm now going to head over to Marina, who's going to talk about how you can allow the Good Exchange to claim gift aid.
Hello, everyone. The reason we wanted to put in a little bit about gift aid is we did some research, and according to HMRC, £600 million of gift aid is unclaimed in the UK at any one time. And as Julian mentioned, any charity and also community amateur sports clubs can claim up to 25% that their donors have paid on top of a donation. Now, those donors must be tax-paying individuals. So if you get a donation from a company, for example, you can't claim gift aid on it. And if you get donation given via a fundraising appeal or a collection from a number of people, you can't claim gift aid. But you can still claim an awful lot of money through the Good Exchange. And as Julian mentioned, the Good Exchange can be an agent, and we don't charge an additional fee for collecting gift aid on your behalf. So basically it's a free service where you can get 25% more money for no effort on donations that come to you through the platform. So of the 2,000 organisations that are registered on the Good Exchange at the moment, 700 of those are registered charities or community amateur sports clubs, so would be eligible to claim gift aid through the platform, but only 30% of those 700 have allowed the Good Exchange to do that. So 70% of those organisations are missing out on having us claim gift aid for them. So it's quite easy for you, if you're a user and you've got a project on the Good Exchange, to check whether or not you've set us as your agent. So go to the project search page. So on the top of our website, you'll see projects listed. Go there and look for your project. And if your project is, or your organisation is registered for gift aid, you'll see this little logo on that page. It will say gift aid. If you can't see the gift aid logo, that means your organisation hasn't registered with us. So two things you can do. One is you can email support@thegoodexchange.com and we'll give you guidance on how to register. And the second option is if you go to our website, thegoodexchange.com help support page, there's an article there about claiming gift aid, and it also has links to the HMRC site and the form that you need to fill in to get HMRC to enable the Good Exchange to be your agent.
Lovely, thanks Marina. Now we're going to head over back to Julian. He's going to talk a bit about Sovereign was able to work in partnership with other funders via the Good Exchange to fully fund some projects during COVID-19 and looking at those collaborative funding studies.
Brilliant, thanks Di. So Sovereign works with the Good Exchange in order to help to mobilise other funders, whether they're local authorities, or charitable trusts, or other housing associations, to help collaboratively support projects that we're all interested in supporting. And one of those examples is an organisation called Berkshire Youth, which Sovereign wanted to support. During COVID, they wanted to set up a triage service, a support hub for young people who didn't have access to, at the time, to school, to their other kind of support networks and services. And so Sovereign awarded them £5,000 through the Good Exchange. And there were 7 other funding partners that also wanted to support the programme. And as a result of the project being on the Good Exchange and leverage and endorsement of Sovereign's grants, we managed to raise a further £41,445, a total of £46,445. And onto the next slide, Marina. So you can see how a snapshot of the funders who supported alongside Sovereign, and the breadth of funding organisations that use the platform, and this is just a small sample of them, and also the timeline of grants and how they were awarded. It really does act as an endorsement. So a Sovereign grant acts as an endorsement for other funders to participate and support you. And this is just one way that the Good Exchange can help you. So we've already heard about Double Match Day, which was an initiative that in Greenham Trust's area of operation, and there will be another Double Match Day in that area. But we'd be very happy to talk with any of you fundraising organisations and indeed funders that are listening in today that want to do your own Double Match Day in a different area. Outside of West Berkshire, so please we can discuss that after the session. And that's just one example of how we're working to support Sovereign and the beneficiaries in their communities who they want to support. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. Now we're going to go over to Misha from the Good Exchange, and she's going to share her top tips for using the Good Exchange for fundraising activities. Hi, Misha.
Hi everyone. So I'm Misha, I'm the Client Support Manager with the Good Exchange, and some of you may have spoken to me already via email when joining the platform. So we know that with the COVID-19 restrictions in place at the moment, with social distancing, etc., that many of your normal fundraising events will have had to be cancelled. So that's why it's more important than ever to be fundraising online. So today I'm going to talk to you about public fundraisers supporting your fundraising projects, and also how to add fundraising events and the proceeds from these onto your live project. So first of all, just wanted to cover the terms of applicant and fundraiser and how those terms are used on the Good Exchange. So we call the applicant the organisation who registers and adds a project to raise funds. So that's all of you here with us today. And a fundraiser would be a member of the public or a corporate team who would like to support your project with a particular personal activity that they're undertaking. Now, as an applicant, all of you may be approached by a supporter who would like to become a fundraiser to support your project and your cause, or you yourself may wish to become a fundraiser and undertake your own personal activity. So what we've done is we've created a fundraiser user guide with full step-by-step instructions for fundraisers, and this will lead them through, or yourself through, from setting up a login on the Good Exchange, a fundraising profile, and adding your activity and sharing it out with your followers. And you can pass a copy of this guide to your supporters as well, and the links to that will be available on the slides that you'll receive following on from the forum today. Now, you see the image at the bottom there clearly was taken pre-COVID times. These hands will probably now all be 2 meters apart. However, this doesn't mean, the restrictions don't mean that your supporters can't come together online to support your cause. And actually, fundraisers are a fantastic way to mobilise your fundraising online, because a lot of what they do can be done online. Sometimes their actual activity is an online one, their fundraising profile is online, and of course they can be sharing out that profile to encourage donations. And that's important for you all as well, to encourage your fundraisers to share their profile as much as they can, particularly on social media, as mentioned earlier, with their friends and family and followers, to encourage as many donations as possible through to your project. And if your project has match funding in place, also important for fundraisers to let people know that donations will be doubled. That can be a fantastic incentive for donors to know that their donations will be having further impacts. So why encourage fundraisers to support your projects? Well, first and foremost, bringing in more funds to your project. Fundraisers can really help to generate those funds by bringing in their own donations from their sources, which of course, as I mentioned already, can be doubled by any match funding that you have in place. Fundraisers can also bring in a wider audience to your cause, so they're again generating interest about what it is you're raising funds for. They're sharing the details out constantly, and it's having more of a pull and more of an attraction. And they can also enhance the appeal of your project page. So any fundraisers who link themselves onto your project will display on your project page as well. For anyone visiting the page, that can encourage other members of the public to maybe become a fundraiser as well to support you, or more importantly, to donate to your project too. So we've added a couple of examples at the bottom there of some really fantastic fundraisers who are raising funds or have in the past on the Good Exchange. The first is John Hibbert, who's undertaking a parachute jump. He's actually an applicant like you guys as well, and he's raising funds for his local church. And also a corporate team, a dental practice, Imogen Dental, who did some raft building and a race. So those are really nice examples, and you can have a look at those links following on from the forum today. So next I'm going to just move on to how to add a fundraising event onto your project page when you have one listed on the Good Exchange. So as an applicant, you may also be raising funds by running particular events in support of your project. Now, prior to COVID, these may have been more kind of active events within the public, you know, such as a fun run, coffee mornings, that type of thing. But you can now move to doing fundraising events online now. You can still have online coffee mornings, virtual quizzes. You can perhaps maybe cook something or make something, create something, and take a little video as well to send out to everyone. So what we've done is we've had full step-by-step instructions on how to add an event onto your project page, onto a little video for you. And that video will also cover other ways to increase the appeal of your public page generally as well. Now, we're quite often asked how to add event proceeds, fundraising event proceeds onto your project. Now, you can do this in one of two ways on the Good Exchange when you have your live projects in place. The first one is to add your proceeds as a donation, and Helen Milroy for the Cancer Centre was talking to you about that today. Now, this option will take advantage of any match funding available on your project as long as the donation is eligible under the funder's terms. and this will be subject to the platform service fee as with any other donations coming through to your project. So again, we've added a couple of links here on how to make an online donation, or if you can't do it online, that is the easiest method. But if you can't, you can instead make your donation by backs or cheque. So there's some instructions there for you. Now, the second option of adding your fundraising event proceeds onto your project is to add them as funds raised externally from the Good Exchange. Now, this option won't take advantage of any match funding that you have, but the amount will be reflected on your fundraising target, and there's no platform service fee applicable on that. And again, we've added another link below with some instructions on how to add funds in that way. Now, if you have any questions about anything I've talked to you about today, or indeed anything about using the Good Exchange generally or gift aid as covered by Marina, do let me know. You can email me on support@thegoodexchange.com and I'll be happy to help. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Misha. As you saw with our map earlier, we cover a wide area here at Sovereign, and our community development officers are dedicated to locations within that spread. Toby Eagland covers the Isle of Wight, and he's going to give you a good overview of how the communities team are using a blended approach to asset-based community development, with not just funding but also commissioning and supporting local groups and also direct delivery. Hi, Toby.
Hello everybody. My name is Toby Eagland and I'm the Community Development Officer for the Isle of Wight. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes explaining our role in more detail. So obviously from this presentation we work alongside local organisations, charities and schools and encourage them to access funding from the Good Exchange. And over the past few months I've supported food banks and 2 community centres on the island in successfully applying for the Good Exchange funding to support the coronavirus response. But we also have within Sovereign our own community fund where we fund organisations to deliver projects, services, initiatives to our residents. As already mentioned, these would need to come under the themes of employment and training, money and digital, ageing well, citizenship and the environment. Last year I personally funded 34 projects and this year I hope to do the same. For example, next month on the Isle of Wight we have funded a self-employment course to be delivered virtually. We have 4 citizenship projects being delivered in schools and youth clubs. We have 2 ageing well projects that focus on reducing isolation and loneliness, and also we go trial an energy saving webinar so residents can save money on their bills. Our asset-based approach means that we focus on the strengths of the community and what is already present. We want to support the great work that is already happening in our communities and work alongside individuals and organisations to continue to do what they do best. We can help with training needs, governance, setting up new groups. We want to support the groups to become sustainable. So we take a wide view and we can very much sculpt our support to an individual group's needs. Finally, we're able to take part in direct delivery. For example, I'll be facilitating a resident forum at one of our supportive housing schemes and hoping to run some budgeting workshops in the community soon. To give you other ideas on what we have done previously, the pictures on the PowerPoint that you can see there, there's one event called Chuck It and Chips. This was a litter pick and skip day where scouts, police cadets and community members come together to clean up our estate. We gave away free fish and chips to everyone that come down to take part, hence the name. The picture of the children and their parents was part of a cooking programme. We teamed up with the community centre, a local primary school, Morrison's, and a cooking academy to teach low-cost recipe ideas to promote positive engagement between the children and the parent. We run those sessions just before holiday time, so at the end of the course they were given a hamper of food that they could use to try and combat school holiday food poverty. And lastly, the picture with the children in the hall, we funded 70 young people extra tuition to help them achieve their GCSE grades. So as you can see, we have a really nice varied job where we are passionate about working alongside our communities in a number of ways. So if you'd like to get in contact with us, please let us know and we'll be happy to chat about any ideas you might have moving forward. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Toby. Hopefully that gives you greater insight into additional stuff we do here at the communities team within Sovereign. I'm going to head back to Marina now, who's going to let you know what resources and support is available via the Good Exchange.
Morning. So you've seen a lot of information today, so we've tried to put one slide together with the links on it, and as was mentioned previously, we will be sending out a link to the recording and also to all the slides. So in the slide, you'll be able to click on any of these links and see and get access to the information. So if you're not a user of the Good Exchange already and you're interested in becoming a user and signing up, there's a link there on how to do that. All the information that Misha mentioned, the help and support, the glossary, how to use the Good Exchange videos, training guides are available here on our help and support page. On our resources page, you've heard people talk about using Canva and using Hootsuite. Canva's a design tool that's designed for people who aren't designers. So I use it, for example, to do all our social media posts, the imagery and all the images for our website. And in our resources page, we've got some social media training videos that take you on a step-by-step approach on how to use Canva, for example, and how to use Hootsuite to schedule posts. So again, we've also got a YouTube channel, so I'll be posting this recording on the YouTube channel. If you sign up and subscribe, you'll be notified when the Good Exchange posts any new videos. If you want to read about Sovereign's grants available through the Good Exchange, then this is the link here to Sovereign's page on our platform. This is a link to the work of Sovereign in the local community, and you may have noticed that recently that they've rebranded, and there's a lot of information there about what they do and what they're passionate about. And Diane mentioned having a link, an email link. So this, if you want to contact someone at the communities group at Sovereign, this is a link to their email address. And if you are recommended, we've had a couple of questions about people recommended to apply to Sovereign or for Sovereign grants. There's a guide here about how Sovereign works with the Good Exchange and what that means if you're asked to apply via Sovereign and you end up on the Good Exchange. So I know people have been a bit confused about that. So
great, thanks. Thanks, Marina. I'd like to thank the Good Exchange and all the speakers today who made this session possible. We hope you've enjoyed the session and go away with more information about the Good Exchange and also Sovereign's Communities Grant. Please do register yourselves and your projects on the Good Exchange, and if you need further support with that, I'm sure the Good Exchange will be able to help when needed, and you can get in touch with us here at the Communities team as well. And if you also have any more queries about Sovereign Communities team and what we can offer, please do make contact with us and with your local community development officer. Please do get in touch. We'd like to hear from you and build those relationships within our local communities. If you'd like to explore any partnership work and all additional support you might like. As Marina said, you can email us at communities.officers@sovereign.org.uk and we'll match you up with your local community development officer. We're now going to go over to some question and answers, and we're going to start off today with a few questions that quite often come up. So a lot of people ask, how do I link my project on the Good Exchange to Sovereign's funding? And when you register on the Good Exchange, you don't actually have to link it to Sovereign. What happens is if your project matches, there's keywords, it will automatically be linked to us. We'll automatically get that one through. So please don't worry that you haven't gone, oh, I'm applying specifically for Sovereign. Another question we get asked quite a lot is, what if I don't match with Sovereign's current theme? I know they do stay on the Good Exchange, the projects, for a while. So if you don't, so that question there as well about if you don't match with Sovereign's current theme.
I think you're breaking up a little bit, Di.
Pardon?
We've lost you.
Have we lost?
You're back now.
Am I back? What did you hear? I was just...
We got as far as the grants stay on there for a while, and then you...
Yeah, right. So the grants the projects do stay on there. So if you don't match with our current theme, it may be that you match with our next round, and if you fit that criteria, you will match in the next round. But I was just going to pull Julian in as well to see if he wants to add anything about if they don't match with Sovereign's current theme also.
Brilliant. Thank you, Guy. So as well as Sovereign's 3 community grants rounds, there's also, as I mentioned earlier, a number of other funders that fund in Sovereign's areas too, and we're talking to new funders all the time too, to work alongside Sovereign. So you're not just making an application to Sovereign for their funding, you're making an application to multiple funders and also prospective donors as well. So remember that members of the public and local businesses can make donations through the Good Exchange too to support your fundraising appeal.
Can I just jump in as well, Di, on that one?
Yeah,
quick?
sure, Toby.
And also, if you have got a project idea that fits in with our themes, if it's not on the Good Exchange at the moment in time, still contact us, because we do have our pot of money that we do hand out to charities, organisations. So please get in contact us with whatever you have, ideas.
Yeah, I think that's quite important as well, Toby, isn't it? Because there's many other ways we can support as well. Another question we get asked is, why is there a 5% fee? And I'm going to go over to Julian with that question.
Thank you, Di. So just to explain, so some of you may not be clear about the situation. So we have an arrangement with Sovereign that they kindly cover the administrative fee for using the platform for the proportion of the funding that we manage through the Good Exchange. But we have a 5% fee which is charged. It's a sort of a no-win, no-fee model where grants and donations that are attracted and paid via the Good Exchange, the fundraising organisation will be charged a 5% plus VAT fee on those grants and donations. But it's also important, after they've been paid to you, it's also important to emphasise, though, that funders such as Sovereign, other funders can actually contribute to the applicant fee on the platform, and donors can contribute to the fee as well in the same way as you can via Just Giving and other fundraising platforms. So I hope that explains it. Very happy to send you more details and answer any questions after the session if anyone wants any more information about the fee for the platform.
Can I just add something on that, Diane?
Yeah.
If you're not aware, the Good Exchange platform is owned by a charity called Greenham Trust, and they invest as a charity a significant amount of money in maintaining and developing the platform, and obviously paying for us to work on it and support it and drive applications and drive more funders. So unlike some of the other platforms like Just Giving and Virgin Money Giving, we're owned by a charity, not by a profit-making organisation. And the Good Exchange makes no money. So the fee is a contribution to try and help the sustainability of a platform that's been set up to help all the charities and all that need money and the funders that want to give money. And by no way are we making any money out of the fee that we take. And as Julian said, it's a no-win, no fee. So if you don't get any money from the platform, it doesn't cost you anything to use it.
Thank you. Thanks, Marina. That's lovely. I'm going to go over to Rachel Bullock now, who's been having a look at what questions have come in today. Rachel, hi.
Hi, Di. Yeah,
Hi.
We've got some really interesting questions. So I think if we start with some questions to Deb's on the Social Value Bank, we've had a couple come in for you, Deb. So one from Lisa, and she's asking, the social impact figures, are they widely available, or do Sovereign calculate those internally?
So they are widely available. We use HACT's wellbeing valuation. So HACT have a download available on their website. If I didn't pop it into the slide set, I will make a note to pop it in before it gets circulated, and I can stick that in the chat function as well. You basically pop onto their website. It's free to download the tool, the spreadsheet that gives all the values in it, and you can use that as a tool to think about calculating any potential social value. So yeah, absolutely available online. That's the one that we happen to use.
Thank you, Deb. And another one for you was from Paul from Exeter Read Easy. And he's asking, is there figures for social impact for people learning to read who are previously non-readers?
Yes, so the answer to that is a yes. It's maybe not explicit. I would consider that to fall under the outcome of a general training for work, because obviously reading, writing are kind of work-ready skills. The value of that is around about £1,500 per person per year. Now, what I would suggest to do in that situation as well is to look at the wider impact. So you have the what you might call like the central impact, so that is the actual what do we do, but then what were the ripple effects of that? And I would quite firmly believe that somebody who's gone from perhaps not being able to read and write to then being able to do that are likely to have some increases to their confidence, potentially to their mental health, potentially to feeling more in control of their lives, and all of those are separate measures that can be used in line with the measure of the action itself of that general training. So you have a potential for, if it were an improvement in confidence, then you could have a potential return in addition to your £1,500 of a further £13,000, or if it were that they felt more in control of life, that could be another potential £15,000 added on to your return. So it's well worth looking at the initial action and initial activity, and then what the ripple effects of that may be.
Yeah, really
Great.
Thank you for that, Debs. That's good.
Thanks, Debs. I think it's important. It's worthwhile us saying as community development officers, when we're working alongside groups, whether that be us commissioning out or funding through the Good Exchange, or helping a group with those direct deliveries, us community development officers do look at how we can capture social value, and we'll always share that. We're quite free to share that with the charities and groups that we're supporting as well. So back to you, Rachel.
Lovely, thanks, Di. So another question from Jenny from RCS, so it's Romsey Community School. This is probably a question for Julian. Sovereign able to fund established charitable organisations. RCS concentrate mainly on skills and employment, and can we grant to staff costs and running costs?
So yeah, you can apply on the Good Exchange for, it doesn't have to be a specific ring-fence project. You can do core funding applications, either annual or multi-year, and we have funders which support core funding applications as well as project applications. You don't think, oh God, I have to have a new project to be able to get support from funders using the Good Exchange. So no, that's not the case. And you can fundraise on the Good Exchange for a 12-month period. Which can be reviewed as well if you've got a large project. So if you've got a large capital project, you can fundraise over a number of years as well.
Brilliant, thanks, Julian. Have we got any more questions there, Rachel?
Yeah. So this is from Michelle. It's probably again another one for Julian. So timings can be difficult to match when you're dealing with match funding. So the timings between the grant deadlines, the project timings and donations. And most funders will say you have to have all the money in place before the project. So it's really a little bit of advice around the timing for match funding, I think. Julian?
Thank you, Rachel. I'm glad this question came up, because the Good Exchange works with funders in a different way to the kind of conventional, traditional match funding, which some of you may be aware of. That kind of all or nothing model. So you have to raise all of the money before you get the match funding. We don't work like that. So we work in an incremental way. So funders award us match funding, and then as donations and grants are paid through the platform, they're matched in real time, and then the money is passed on to the fundraising organisation incrementally. So you don't have to raise all of that money in the same way as you would with the PIV or with other match funding agreements. So we work in a much more flexible way, and we encourage funders to operate in a much more flexible way, give you cash flow, and to help, particularly at this time.
Lovely, thank you, Julian. So our next question is from Ray Dawson, some Fresh Start scheme in Chippenham, and this is probably for Di or someone from Sovereign and Julian as well. So Ray is interested in building a partnership with Sovereign and the Good Exchange. He currently works with people experiencing homelessness and domestic violence survivors. What they do is turn houses into homes, and he's really interested to find out how's the best way to go to build that relationship.
Yeah, I think get in touch with us here at the communities team. You can either use the email that was on the previous slide. If any one of you want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me, diane.humphreys@sovereign.org.uk, and if I will point you to the person who you do need within Sovereign or your local community development officer. So from Sovereign's viewpoint, yeah, please just do get in touch. We're always open to having conversations and looking at those explorations about what potentials there are for future working together. I'll pass over to Julian.
Thank you, Di. Yeah, I'm echoing that. So please get in contact with me directly, julian.may@thegoodexchange.com. I'm happy to take emails from anyone who wants to email me, so that's not a problem. We would love to be able to help support you and hopefully work with Sovereign and our other funding partners to be able to support you.
Lovely, thank you both. Okay, so we have a question here, it's probably from Julian. It's about the double match days. We've had a couple of people asking, will they be happening again? Are you planning another double match day?
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for that question. So just to be clear, the Double Match Day was an initiative by Greenham Trust in West Berkshire and North Hampshire. There will be another Double Match Day in West Berkshire and North Hampshire in December. But the reason why we included it was because they were such a brilliant insight into the art of the possible, with funders using match funding via the Good Exchange to be able to support organisations in their community with double match funding, and as you've seen, it works. So we'd be really happy to talk with any fundraising organisations, or indeed any funders that are on the call today, who would like to participate in your own double match day, and we'd be very happy to facilitate that.
Brilliant, thanks, Julian. Rachel, should we squeeze one more quick question in before we hit time? I will say that if we haven't got round to answering all the questions today, we will answer them and get those answers out to you.
Yeah, okay then.
After the session.
So I'll pick one that's probably quite important. So Linda has asked, she said she was sat in her office knowing she's looking out on Sovereign homes, but she doesn't know how many would be in her area. And she's wondering how she would go about finding that out. Does she get in touch with us, or what's the best way to do that?
Yep, I think probably get in touch with us as well. Your local communities team's probably a good start. We can get access to that information. I don't know whether you, Rachel or Toby, want to add anything to that.
No, I'd agree with you, Di. I think it's, if you can get in touch, use the email address given. If you don't know, will find its way to us, and then we can find that information for you.
Great. Well, thank you all again for coming today, and thanks to all the panelists and all the guest speakers. I think it's been a really good day, and hopefully you've enjoyed the session and are going away with lots of information. Hopefully we haven't bombarded you too much. Whether, Julian, did you want to say anything before we go today?
I just wanted to say thank you, Di, Debs, Toby, Rachel, Andrew, and the whole of the Sovereign team for your support, and to everyone who's joined the call today. I hope you found it useful. We were happy to answer questions, anything offline after the session, and we hope we can help you in the future. So thank you very much.